Yes. Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is. And welcome back. I hope your weekend was outstanding and incredible, and you've returned feeling more rejuvenated and refreshed than you've ever felt in your entire life. We got some interesting business that's happening out there today. We now have Mexico and Canada, as of moments ago, bending the knee, as they say. 25% tariffs were set to be imposed tonight and now not happening anymore. We talked about the Mexico president changing course earlier this morning, but now we've got Justin Trudeau doing the same. And here is what he just posted minutes ago. Have not seen a statement yet from the White House, but here's what that dictator up north said. I just had a good call with President Trump. Canada is implementing our $1.3 billion border plan. We're going to be reinforcing the border with new choppers, technology, and personnel, enhanced coordination with our American partners, and increased resources to stop the flow of fentanyl. Nearly 10,000 frontline personnel are and will be working on protecting the border. So that's 10,000 from our friends in Mexico and another 10,000 from our friends in Canada. Thank you, friends. We like everybody now again. In addition, Canada is making new commitments to appoint a fentanyl czar. Hopefully it's not Kamala Harris or somebody. And we will list cartels as terrorists, ensure 24/7 eyes on the border, launch a Canada-U.S. joint strike force to combat organized crime, fentanyl, and money laundering. I have also signed a new intelligence directive on organized crime and fentanyl that will be backing it with $200 million. Proposed tariffs will be paused for at least 30 days while we work together. Amazing. So, yeah, that was pretty quick. And shout out to the lectern guy, aka Adam Johnson, saying, make him drop all the charges on the Canadian truckers as well. Good call on that one. We're not going to forget our Canadian freedom convoy. But Justin Trudeau now also agreeing to fortify the border. They could have just done that a few days ago, but they had to come out and play tough. Now, that didn't take long because, as you can see here, just a day ago, and in fact, as of this morning, 6 hours ago, Justin Trudeau was saying, we've been your friends forever. Like, how can you do this to us? We've always been there for you. Yeah, you were, not anymore. Now you hopefully are again. So he was saying for a long time, very recently, we're going to stand up for Canada. We're going to respond with tariffs of our own. And that didn't last long. So thank you, Justin Trudeau. Thank you to our friends in Canada. Thank you to our friends in Mexico for working together with us. None of us want fentanyl in our borders. We have this nice continent together. We can live here in harmony and peace, as long as we remain friendly. Thank you for abiding. Now, simultaneous to this, we've got the Senate is underway right now. They're moving the ball forward on Pam Bondi and Chris Wright. So we'll keep our eye on this, but we've got a bunch of other business to attend to today, including news with the FBI and news with AID and how the Democrats were physically blocked from entering the building. Okay, a bunch of senators showed up there today. Some might argue tried to insurrect the building, and they were blocked. One guy just stood there. He's like, you're not coming in here. Not even close. Don't think about it. So I've got the video on that queued up. And then we'll talk about Elon, because he's got some really impressive folks up there taking care of business, cleaning house in the deep state. And they're now under threat because leftists are nuts and they're doxing them and trying to draw a bunch of attention to them so that there can be repercussions coming their way. But the Trump DOJ not playing around on that at all. So we're going to get into all of that. Let's start off, though, with the FBI, because this is just an amazing story. The FBI and those corrupt agents who are still there are now packing their bags because the Trump storm is a blowing through. You can see NBC News is reporting this literally. saying that agents have started to pack up their desks. They're already shoving their stuff in their little bins and cardboard boxes because they're fearing mass firings. Some agents have also been sent a 12-question survey, and I've got a copy of that survey, courtesy of an ex-FBIer, asking them specifically about their roles in J6. Did you touch this case? Did you even think about prosecuting a J6er? Did you even dream about January 6th? Let me know. An FBI agent group advised agents overall, stay calm and refrain from making any statements. It's like, invoke your right to remain silent because you're criminals, which begs the question, what are they packing their desks up for? What are they going to bring with them? They're not going to need any of that stuff when they're in jail. So here is what the rest of the story says. Now, as fear of mass firings swirl through the FBI, acting director Brian Driscoll, who we read and heard from last week, the head of the bureau in New York and their field office, and an agents group, reassured staffers and pushed back against the efforts to throw the FBI agents afuera. The unease comes after Trump publicly praised the firings of top FBI career executives. It's like they use a bunch of adjectives like top and career, and they're executives. Yeah, okay. They're corrupt criminals, and they're fleeing and being fired as they should. Saying in a message to FBI staffers, Driscoll, we read the actual screenshot of this last week, the acting director said that the Trump administration is seeking the names of every FBI agent who worked on the J6 investigations. He said the number was in the thousands of these folks. Thousands. And just to be clear, there are 1,500-ish criminal charges brought against the J6ers. So it's like one for every, maybe two to every defendant, right? Multiple people. Just at the FBI, not even talking about the DOJ. FBI agents. And how long were they working on them for? Now, on Sunday afternoon, the FBI Agents Association, so their little union or whatever, sent employees a notice. Some agents were freaked because they got an email that said, you have to respond to this 12-question survey. It was asking them about their involvement in the J6 cases. And this has been a little bend that we've been on here. And as I've said here many times, we love our legal assistants. We love them. But not if they worked on the J6 cases. Okay, sorry, they got to go too. So everybody who was even thinking about it needs to be included. All the special agents in charge and the assistant special agents in charge and all of them. Someone said, well, we've confirmed this is accurate. We anticipate a large majority of our members are going to get this little survey, which represents agents, but it's not a union. At this point in time, they say, we recommend deferring to your division leadership on how to handle these surveys. So let me show you what has poked up over here. And this comes over from this fella, Garrett O'Boyle, Christian husband, father, congressional whistleblower, indefinitely suspended FBI agent, former police officer, infantry veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan. Thank you, sir, for that service and for this service. Here is what he is sharing with us. Here are the questions that the FBI employees have until 3 p.m. tomorrow to submit to the Justice Department. So they all got this. This looks like almost like a Google form. Elon's team's like, yeah, just use a, whatever form stack or whatever. Hi, redacted. When you submit this form, the owner will see your name and email address. What is your current title? I'm an FBI special agent. Are you currently a supervisor? Yes, I'm a supervisor of whatever, they're all supervisors of something, how their names are. Oh yeah, I'm a special agent. You're not just an agent? No, I'm a special agent. Why? Because you're an FBI? Yeah, that's mostly why. Are you currently an ASAC or a special agent in SSIA? Assistant Special Agent in Charge or SSIA? So pick one. Are you one of those two positions? Select your answer. Next question. Number 4. Are you currently an SES employee? An SAC, a section chief, a DAD, an ED, an AD, etc., etc. So pick your answer, yes or no. Says, considering Lib's experience with thousands of employees, most of whom are aligned with the suspendables, those FBI guys who got nuked, and the specific examples of him, Marcus, Seraphin, Steve Friend, Philip Kennedy. It's interesting, but unsurprising to see the sanctimonious claims about a weaponized government now. Yeah, and remember, these guys got nuked in many cases because they refused to abide by the COVID garbage. Like there's like 7 FBI, ex-FBI guys. Okay, the rest of them are all still there. He just listed all of them who left. I'm being facetious, but it's like a lot. If there's thousands of people who are there going to be identified by their own admission as being J6 lunatics, and the J6 lunatics were also the COVID lunatics, right? And they're also the Catholic parishioners lunatics and the pro-lifer lunatics. They just weaponize everything against the DVEs, the domestic violent extremists, and the homegrown violent extremists, and the racially motivated violent extremists, and the list goes on and on. So the FBI threw these guys out, and now the FBI is complaining about this. They're like, how could they do this to us? They're throwing us out. Says, what was your title when you participated in investigations or prosecutions of events that occurred at or near the Capitol on January 6th? Because the defense from them is going to be, we were just following orders. I was just a lowly little FBI peon, and I was just doing whatever Christopher Wray's minions told me to do. So select your answer. Were you just like a new person or an old person? 6, were you a supervisor when you participated in investigations or prosecutions of events that occurred at or near the Capitol? So you should doubly know better. You, as a lowly agent, will still make the oath and the commitment to enforce the law, right? And when you're actually stepping out of alignment with that law, then you've got an obligation to do something about it. And these gentlemen did, right? They left or they were pushed out and forced out and abused by the very government that was violating our rights. So were you a supervisor? Were you an ASAC or an SSIA when you participated in the investigations of the events that occurred at or near the Capitol on J6? Were you an SES employee when you participated in the investigations that occurred near the Capitol? Garrett said, all of us, when we were at the FBI, we had to submit our questionnaires that were similar in nature, but these were about our personal religious beliefs, right? Opposition to an unlawful order, to inject ourselves with some foreign substance and other related matters. Okay, these are personal issues that they were coming down on them over. Now, they're claiming weaponization here. Tells you all you need to know, which is that they're corrupt, right? They're freaked out about this. This goes to their work product. Their politics infected, first of all, even the FBI that was asking these suspendables about these questions, shove that in your body. What do you believe about this? What do you think if this happens? Okay, those are like personal perspectives that the FBI has no substance over in terms of their commitment as an enterprise to the country. We have to have a diverse law force. Unless you're diverse chemically in your body, you all have to be pretty dang orthodox on that. So from both ends, they'll try to purge their employees, and then they'll now freak out when a legitimate form comes through and says, can you just please apprise us of how you handled a criminal investigation and prosecution? Because what you did was undermine the presumption of innocence, violate American citizens' due process rights, and act in opposition to your sworn oath. So what division are you currently in, FBI? The drop down is sorted by field offices, legal offices, HQ divisions, and then in alphabetical order by the division's 2 character code. So find yourself. And what division were you in when you participated in prosecutions near the Capitol? What division were you in? What was your role? And what's so beautiful about this is they're going to be able to cross-reference it all, okay? All of it. It's like nobody knows what everybody's answers are. Now, the FBI, in order to obstruct this, they have their little agents association, the FBI AA, whatever, and they're going to explain, don't answer these questions and put in a disclaimer so that they can obstruct with their own agency. The FBI agents can obstruct their own agency. So this form is really nice in many ways because those who are obstructing the form should go immediately for not complying in good faith with what their employer told them to do. You're gone immediately. So if you do that, right, you're just done. Now, if you then do comply a little bit and you're dishonest, you have a concern that your neighbor who filled out the form right next to you, who was on the same J6 door kicking in raid that you were on or whatever, may tell the truth and implicate you, in which case you're busted. So then you game this out, game theory, you say, well, I better just tell the damn truth. It's the best thing that I can do here. So you better just be truthful or you're done. So it's a nice little mind game happening. What was your role in the investigations or the prosecutions related to events that occurred at or near the Capitol? I did analytical support. It's just like assigning spreadsheets. I approved ECs or other documents. I led an operation or participated in an arrest. I was kicking doors in. You're gone. I was assigned as a case agent and more. Garrett says, they're perfectly okay with weaponizing against those who point to the cross for their beliefs and against those they've deemed political Untermensch, as was the case with the J6ers. But when gross prosecutorial negligence occurred in the vast majority of those cases, and when the vast swaths of America's primary secret police force took those cases on with glee, scant few stood up and said, this is wrong. It was like, when you see those videos of everybody breaking into the stores and they're like racing for the TVs and they're, knocking down all the counters and all of those coolers are gone. Everybody's banging their carts into each other. It's bedlam, right? That's what it was like at the FBI. They're like, oh, great. We have unlimited money coming from the federal government, Joe Biden. And we've got all these innocent people out there who got caught up in something that was set up by our government that couldn't even protect the building when they had every aspect of our government inside of it, which was obviously set up that way to happen. If they can't stand up and defend against an abuse by our own government, then they don't deserve to be in the FBI. Gross prosecutorial negligence occurred in the vast majority of those cases. They looked the other way. And when vast swaths of the primary secret police took those cases on, nobody stood up for it. Of course, a few did, Garrett O'Boyle and the rest of them. So you can see they were checking boxes: discovery, evidence collection, grand jury subpoenas, HQ program management support, interviewed witnesses, responded to leads. This is what I was referring to when I said every single legal assistant, right? That is a euphemism for everybody else who did all this other minor work. No. I just put paper in the printer when it ran out. You're gone. Did you print a January 6th indictment on that? You're gone. Who bought the toner? Oh, you did too. Yeah, you're gone. No more toner for you. Everybody's gone. It's cleaning house. As this wraps up, he tells us, Marcus, Steve, Kyle, Phil, and I all pointed out causes for concern about the J6 cases. Now, most, if not all, of us made protected disclosures to Congress about it. All of us were retaliated for it. All of us. What was the approximate date of your last activity relating to the investigation or prosecutions related to the events that occurred at or near the Capitol? Please input the date and submit it. Okay. Now, what's so great about this, George Hill was also involved. Shout out to him as a suspendable. Also a fellow suspendable who brought great upheaval to his own life for whistleblowing about J6. If it wasn't for George, we never would have known about the gross weaponization of Bank of America and the FBI against the J6ers. So shout out to Senior Chief George, following him as well. So I'm going to repost this. Make sure you're following these guys because they have been on the right side of history for everything, at the top of our timeline on that. But that was the form that they all got. Okay, like everybody at the FBI, fill out your form. Were you even thinking about January 6th? If so, let me know. Let me see the keys on your keyboard to see how much you use those two keys, because you're going to be busted. Now, Garrett also shared this, and here is the response that they got from the FBI Agents Association. All right, so this is their little union-ish. They represent 14,000 active and former FBI special agents. And here's what he says about them. They have now sent out guidance and a canned statement. They're urging FBI employees to insert into the J6 questionnaire. We just read through the questionnaire. There's nothing really to shove in there. There's no like forms, right? It's just yes or no. Pick your position. It's a drop down. Like, we don't want to hear from you at all. Yes or no. There's not even an option to respond except to that very last question, as you saw, right? So here, select your answer, select your answer, select your answer, Select your answer. Then at the very end, there's this other. See that? Check that box and just write other. Otherwise, you can't submit a statement. We don't want to hear from you. Don't give us your whiny little FBI sob story. No, did they? Don't want to hear about it. So then they say this. It says they've sent out guidance. He says, and I agree, the DOJ should suspend all employees who use this canned response for lack of candor, right? So if you're caught lying, if you just I answered A for all of them or whatever, and I wasn't really honest, you're out. EM, who are telling employees to use canned responses or flat out refusing that, should be fired for insubordination, right? You answer this, you've been directed, you've been given a direct order to fill out the form. He says, what's really interesting about this, though, is the FBIAA, and this happened all over the country, okay, entities that are supposed to represent people who are standing up when things get tough. Like you would say the FBIAA should represent the whistleblowers who were calling out corruption in the FBI. Or you might say like state bars or criminal defense organizations should stand up against lockdown orders when those were happening. And they didn't do that at all. Everybody just got scared like little babies and closed everything up and said, stop fighting about this crap, okay? They all went with the mainstream popular narrative, but now that their grift is about to be obliterated, now they're standing up to fight for their corrupt FBI agents. Funny, you refuse to assist the thousands of employees who didn't want to inject an unwanted substance into their bodies, but now suddenly you've got an interest in providing legal assistance to FBI agents who are about to get canned. He shared this. This is their response. Here's what happened. From FBIAA member connector. This is their little, internal messaging systems. Says, many of you have heard about the 12-question survey that we just read, asking about employees' involvement in January 6 cases. Now, we have confirmed that this is accurate, and we anticipate a large majority of our members will receive this if they have not already. We understand that this feels like agents and employees are being targeted. Despite repeated assurances that, quote, all FBI employees will be protected against political retribution. Yeah, funny. Maybe they should ask themselves what it felt like when they were doing it to the suspendables and forcing them to do things that they didn't want to do, not because it was doing a bad job in a criminal investigation or a criminal prosecution, just because they wanted to purge the agency of people who weren't in alignment with their preferred lifestyle. In this case, it was jabbing themselves a million times. But we understand that this feels like you're under attack. They say employees carrying out their duties to investigate allegations of criminal activity with integrity and within the rule of law should never be treated as those who have engaged in actual misconduct. And see, that's a false premise. Hello? Yeah, I mean, like if that's true, yeah. If they're acting with integrity and they're not engaging in misconduct. But that's not what happened with the J6ers. Those people had lust in their eyes. For them, it was a blood sport. They were acting with actual malice and prosecutorial misconduct, and they were prosecuting, ultimately, President Trump, okay? So they can no longer, and they did it, in my opinion, unlawfully in many different ways. We don't need to belabor that now. But this was an ongoing, continuous onslaught from them, and now Trump is in charge because they were wrong. And the American people vetoed their insanity. So they can no longer stay in office. Adding insult to injury, they say, is that 4 years ago today, we lost two incredible FBI agents, Daniel Alfin and Laura Schwarzenberger, doing meaningful yet dangerous work that our members do every day. So we get a little sob story they shove in here too. And we lost some people. Today, we continue to remember and honor them, their families and friends and colleagues. While it is nearly impossible to block out the noise right now, we are reminded that, like Dan and Laura, we do the jobs we do because it's a calling to protect and serve. And that we believe in protecting the American people and upholding the Constitution of the United States. A big, bloviating, self-aggrandizing statement that is meaningless. Regarding the survey, we are actively working with leadership to obtain additional information about the request. We want to emphasize Acting Director Driscoll's statement saying, Being included on this list in no way indicates misconduct. From Driscoll, who's probably fired. If allegations of misconduct were to arise, the FBI has a long-standing and robust process that aims at providing due process in accordance with policy and law. All right, we're freaked out. So, you're not in trouble yet, but if you are in trouble, because once they open up these manila file folders, they're going to see we have a robust process. And and they can be assured, we're going to grant them the same due process they gave the J6ers. We're going to give them more due process. We'll give them actual due process. But they're not getting any favors. If allegations of misconduct arise, you'll be okay. Now, at this point in time, we recommend deferring to your division leadership on how to handle these surveys. So if one of your corrupt bosses tells you to obstruct this and not answer truthfully or honestly, do what they say. In consultation with our member attorneys and the field, they say it is recommended that you include the following language in question 11 and choose other. Okay. So they're like, we're going to beat this form. We're going to hack this form. The FBI is like a hacker team. Yeah. You're so much smarter than this form. Just use the other button. They didn't think about that. So copy and paste this whole thing in there. Now, I hope they change that form and put a character limit in there. That's much, much shorter than this. The character limit should be like, 15 characters. But here's what they want. So they're going to copy and paste this little stupid statement. They're going to say, the responses in this survey are provided based upon my current knowledge, information, and belief. These are FBI agents. I have been directed to respond to this survey in an extremely short time frame and with minimal information. Furthermore, all the questions except one do not allow for any written explanation. I have been told, quote, I am required to respond to this survey without being afforded appropriate time to research my answers, speak with others, speak with counsel, or other representation. Oh my gosh, it just keeps going. Okay. They continue. I have not been advised if these answers are being provided for informational purposes, administrative inquiry, security division inquiry, or criminal inquiry. Look at this. I have not been advised of my rights in this matter. To the best of my ability and belief, I perform my duties in accordance with the DIOG, federal statutes, and the Constitution. And the matters I worked on were properly predicated under the DIOG and were open and investigated at the direction of the Department of Justice. Yikes. Yikes. That's like, in other words, what you're saying is you're guilty. Is that what you're saying? I disavow and affirm that nothing I state in this statement can be true or hold against me, disclaim all prejudice and court of law in the state of Delaware. What? I thought you didn't do anything wrong. Just sign the form. Everything's fine. Like, what are you talking about? What are you so nervous about? No, I didn't break the law. This is what I did. Just fill the form out. And to be honest with you, this is not even that good of advice. All right. The good advice for a criminal like this, right, who's contemplating all of this, is to just not submit it and just not say anything, right? Invoke your right to remain silent and just be silent. Don't submit anything. Because this can and will be used against you, no doubt about it, as soon as it comes through and you've submitted that. You'll say, oh, okay, interesting. Now, if this guidance changes, we will immediately communicate such. In the event that further surveys questions follows, guidance will be sent out. We continue to hear rumors of dismissals and security revocations or individuals who have been told to expect dismissals today. Again, we have no confirmation of any such events. Please be cautious in sharing and spreading what could be misinformation. Oh yeah, we know what we do to misinformationers now. We do not need any more stress on those potentially impacted. Again, we cannot stress enough that we are working around the clock for you, our members, and we're going to do everything in our power to advocate for each and every one of you. The amount of fear in the workforce right now is palpable. How does it feel? Because that's what you did to us for years. Please know that there are numerous resources available to you. Call these counselors here. Call a crisis hotline. Call Copline. Absolutely amazing. Why are they so freaked out if they did nothing wrong? What is the fear all about? Is because they know what they did. Just like the people who go in and loot those stores and run out. They're like, I got a big screen TV. FBI agents. They were all doing that. They all thought they were going to get to keep their TVs, keep their J6 scalps that they got and celebrated amongst themselves at their cocktail parties. Well, we know who you are. We saw you on camera. We saw you running out with that TV and that J6er, and now you're done. So the fear is palpable, and so is the joy in the air. Kamala's right about something. There is a lot of joy after this election. She's right about that. All right, so he also said, look, here's an idiot's guide on how you know the FBI has been subverted by Marxists, right? Under Biden and their prosecutions, they went after J6ers like Dark Horse 92. They went after Sarah McBee and many others, and families, whistleblowers, Seraphin and others. Now under Trump, all you got to do is fill out a form, and they're all freaking out. What? If you're so proud of your J6 work and you didn't break the law and you didn't steal any big screen TVs or J6 civil rights out of anybody, what are you so fearful about? Why is everything so palpable? Now, this is an interview that took place. So the FBI Agents Association, the agency that we just read about, they had this guy back in 2022 come out and talk about this, right? He's talking about threats to federal agencies and things like this. This is a while ago, so we'll just skip over it. But basically, the agency is an FBI support entity, right? So they're just going to support the institution of the FBI, and what they do or what they can do to stop this, I think, is ultimately going to be minimal. So they can fill out their little forms, they can shove stuff in the other box and think like they're outsmarting the tech team over there, like, all these people are copying and pasting the same thing in this box. I guess that's the end of our FBI criminal reform. Good job, guys. Beat us again. I don't think so. So there's more happening. It's not just at the FBI. It's also at criminal senators like Chuck Schumer. Our friend Julie Kelly posted this, said, here's the letter that Ed Martin, who is now the acting AG of the United States until Pam Bondi comes in. This is the letter that he sent over to Chuck Schumer. You remember back in 2020, we had Kavanaugh and Gorsuch, two Supreme Court hearings, and they were about to issue a decision, and Chuck Schumer was very unhappy about it. And he was standing out there on the gates of the Supreme Court, on the steps of the Supreme Court, and he said, I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hits you if you go forward with these awful decisions. Chuck Schumer said that. Sounds like violence and an incitement to violence, imminent lawless action, and more. And that happened not too long ago. So now he got a letter from Ed Martin, U.S. acting AG. Says, all right, dear Senator Schumer, as United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, says, I receive requests for information and clarifications. And so I take these requests seriously and I act on them with letters like this one that you're receiving now. At this time, Chuck, I respectfully request that you clarify your comments from March 4th, 2020. Your comments were at a private rally off the campus of the U.S. Capitol. You made them clearly and in a way that many found threatening, and your exact words are as I stated earlier. We take threats against public officials very seriously. I look forward to your cooperation with my letter of inquiry after request. Should you have further questions regarding this matter, Senator, please do not hesitate to call my office or schedule a time to meet in person. Thank you. All the best. Ed Martin, U.S. Attorney. And so Chuck Schumer was having a meltdown today because he was not going to have his Corona beer and his guacamole. And you can see he thought this was a fun little thing for him to do. Come out here and be like, Mexico, yeah. And he did that. But of course, the Mexican government and Claudia Sheinbaum are now sending 10,000 troops to secure the southern border, and they're paying for it. So here was Caroline Leavitt responding to Chuck and his new inquiry.
It's going to affect beer, okay? Most of it, Corona here, comes from Mexico. It's going to affect your guac, because what is guacamole made of? Avocados, both from Mexico. If you have pizza, it's going to affect the cost of cheese.
Like Food Network with Chuck Schumer.
He doesn't want any pain at his Super Bowl party, Caroline. What do you have to say about that very interesting show and tell?
Well, this just proves that the Democrat Party is still incredibly out of touch with the American people, because while Chuck Schumer is whining about the cost of a pint of beer, President Trump is talking about saving American lives. And I would say to Chuck Schumer, what would you give? What price would you pay if your child was killed at the hands of an illegal immigrant who should have never made their way into this country in the first place? Or if your child died at the hands of illegal Chinese fentanyl that was trafficked through both our southern and northern borders? There are thousands of parents across this country who have felt that loss. There is no price that can bring their child back. And that's what President Trump is doing with these tariffs. He's making it very clear that he is going to put the American people's interests first, and he is going to protect our homeland. And Democrats can either get on board with that, or they can continue to lose elections as they did on November 5th.
Yeah, Chuck's having a tough time, just wants to continue to pretend like he knows about food and beer and how to barbecue hamburgers and more. So he was having a tough time with his guac and beer because Mexico, of course, came to the table and agreed to secure the border and to stop the flow of fentanyl, which is exactly what we wanted. So Alina Habba went on Fox News and had a conversation with Trey Gowdy, and here's what that sounded like.
All right, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel have not yet been confirmed. I suspect they both will be, but not yet. So the decision to fire federal prosecutors, remove or reassign bureau agents is being made by whom?
Well, I mean, that's a pretty basic question. We have acting DOJ officials that are appointed when they're removed. Jack Smith resigned in a failure for his witch hunt for President Trump.
It's true.
He was also improperly put into space as special counsel. But these decisions, remember, come from the government, and who is running the government? It's President Trump. When you're looking at anybody who is or is not America first, it's a pretty simple line. The PPO office of the executive branch, they're doing an amazing job. They're hiring. We've hired thousands of people. We have tens of thousands of resumes. But more importantly, we're firing. And that is done by PPO. But ultimately, remember, President Trump is running this country now. He's moving quickly to get good people in and bad people out.
Yeah, and I'm tired of that meme that's going around. It's like, Elon's an unelected billionaire who's controlling everything. Trump is the president. Trump is reshaping all of these agencies, and their changes are being done at his direction, under his power and authority. So this idea that like a bunch of stuff is happening too fast, they're like, well, who did that? Who has the authority? It's way too fast for them to keep tabs on, and that's why it's so confusing for them. So thank you, Alina Habba, for explaining how this works. All right, so now FBI is having a rough time. All of our senators are doing the same. And this was a wild scene today. President Trump blocked the senators from entering the building. USAID, a mega grift that's been going on for years, sucking American tax dollars out for various nefarious purposes that we'll talk about coming up, is now coming to a close. And the Democrats tried to get into the building today, and they couldn't do it. We have a hero who just stood there with his arms crossed like this. So you're not coming in. Don't even think about it. This senator, Chris Van Hollen, posted this little temper tantrum. You can see they're all out there. Jamie Raskin didn't bring his do-rag today.
Locally,
and
we'll see this on the news.
They were talking about this, all of them explaining how the USAID provides aid and benefit to starving grandmas in the Sahara Desert and all the stuff. And then they decided, all right, enough. We're going to be brave. They can't keep us out. They can't lock out the employees. We're going to raid it. We're going to go insurrect the building. We're just going to walk right in there. Here's what that looked like at the tail end before the camera cuts out.
Thank you all for being here. And again, thank the folks who work for AID and do wonderful work on behalf of our country.
You go in there. Go inside, Jamie.
Make a hole.
Make a hole. I feel like we should get
All right, so they make their way in, and we'll follow them a little bit.
hello to our dear.
All right, so then the camera cuts out, right? Now, as they make their way in, you can see there's people here. They enter the building, very excited about it. Going to storm USAID and show Trump who is boss. Well, here's the problem for him. When they got there, this hero said, you're not coming in. Okay, so nice try. And let's listen to see what this sounded like once we get this audio on.
So you are aware this agency is very busy currently, and they are not able to take the meeting currently. They advise that they will be in contact shortly, and that best to contact the Department of State at this time if you need any further comments.
Who is they?
The front office of the administrator.
So could I just ask, are you with AID?
I am.
Thank you for your service.
Well, thank you for what you do.
Are the Doge people here?
I
Are they in this building now?
We have 8 employees currently. That's all I know. I don't know specific who Doge is or any of that. I just know that 8 employees are here. Although, as you are all aware, it's in the press. Everybody's been asked to telework. There are select people here to provide services for the agency. So the rest of them are all telework.
Get out.
Career? I am. Are you?
Yeah, thank
career
you.
as well.
Thank you. Yeah.
We want to thank you for your service. So there's no opportunity to.
No, unfortunately, I don't control that. I'm just here to pass along the information. Thank you for coming, and I'm sure Department of State will be putting out more information shortly.
Can you repeat the message one more time?
No, I am not the senior civil servant.
Here,
I have gray hair like
today.
you. No, absolutely, just gray hair. That's it. That's the senior part of me.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you guys. I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep, we'll
Thank
see you soon.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye. Get out. Nice try. There's Ilhan. Oh, well, I guess being a representative, it takes a deep breath over there. Woo, we just got told, Jamie Raskin, go back, your little stunt, get out of here, all right? It's closed. Get out of our office. Stop trying to insurrect what we're doing here. You're all fired and done. Bye. So, just outstanding, a ton of fun. And then here's more, right? Here's another image on what it looks like. They ended up going back out after the fact, and then they held another press conference. So Senator Chris Van Hollen, then they came out after. They said, we were just denied entry. We're totally victims. Here's what he said.
Nominees. We've been clear, along with Senator Schatz, who's here, and my colleagues, that we will do everything we can to block State Department nominees from going forward until this illegal action is reversed. I do want to emphasize that since we don't have any Republicans so far in the House or Senate who want to work with us to stop this illegal action, that action in the courts is going to be essential. And it's already underway in terms of people looking at this. It's clearly a violation of law, as we all say.
Yeah, clearly a violation. So go to the courts and go and protect your gigantic grift. And let me show you just how much of a grift all of this is. It's actually quite shocking. We're going to see a bunch of responses like this one from Bill Kristol to show you exactly how embedded all of these folks are. Bill Kristol's an anti-Trumper. I don't even know what he classifies himself as now, but a bunch of people follow him. All the Washington people love the guy for whatever reason. He said the deep state is far preferable to the Trump state, right? Oh, wow, that's really clever. Somebody should pay him a bunch of money to write stupid articles. So Data Republican, who I highly recommend you follow, been one of the most interesting accounts over the last 24 hours and has been doing amazing digging on this. In fact, built an entire website called Data Republican, which I'll encourage you to check out. And this is getting, even more interesting by the minute. So you can go in here at datarepublican.com and do award searches and actually search for people, okay, and see what their connections are to funding from the federal government. And so when you go there and you use it and check it out, what it will spit out are responses that look like this. So what Data Republican said in response to Bill Kristol, busted, said, listen, hello, Mr. Kristol. For you, the deep state is preferable because you are listed as the president of Defending Democracy at this EIN number ending in 380, which is an indirect beneficiary of USAID through Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors. You are exposed. And as you can see, when you go into this, this is what it looks like. And you know how much we like mind maps here. Mind mapped to oblivion. It is a concoction of money going to entities and being repurposed and shifted around to the tunes of millions of dollars, billions of dollars over the years. And here, the Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors sends money to various entities like the Hopewell Fund. They get a bunch of money, and then they dole out some money, like $2 million, to Defending Democracy Together Institute. Okay, what are all of these? The Vermont Community Foundation. What is that? It got $91 million. What is the Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors? They got $856 million, or no, $27 million, but their gross receipts were $856. Taxpayer funds, $27 million. Then they dole some of that back out to Hopewell, right? And then Bill Kristol gets some of it over at Defending Democracy Together Institute. Then they've got to give their money back out. So they give some money for Principles First for America, whatever the hell that is. Other money goes. Society for the Rule of Law, Mormon Women for Ethical Government Foundation. All right. Money just is passed around to the tune of millions and millions and billions of dollars, right? And nobody knows where it goes. That's why they're all upset about it. It's because they're all in these little bubbles getting handouts from the federal government. And we're pretty sick of it. And so what you can do is also go to datarepublican.com and search for people and follow Data Republican, who is doing that very aggressively and doing a great job with it. So if you check out Data Republican, let's see. It says, for liability, wants to say this, Kristol is not a direct recipient, right? And we didn't take that. It's through a beneficiary, right? He's not a direct recipient of USAID, but it goes down, it's passed along. Taxpayer dollars trickle down to all of these folks. And so let me see if they found another one. There's been some good findings here. So check out Data Republican, and you'll follow this rabbit hole where it goes. It's been very interesting. Now, other people like Bukele from El Salvador is telling us how he sees this foreign aid garbage. Says most governments don't want U.S. aid funds flowing into their countries because they understand where much of that money actually ends up. Now, while marketed as support for development, democracy, and human rights and all this nice sounding stuff, the majority of these funds are funneled into opposition groups, NGOs with political agendas, and destabilizing movements. Says at best, maybe 10% of the money reaches real projects that actually help people in need. There are such cases, but the rest of it is used to fuel dissent, finance protests, undermine administrations that refuse to align with the globalist agenda. That's why they're so mad. Cutting out this so-called aid isn't just beneficial for the United States, it's a big win for the world. And Rubio is going to be in charge of it. I wanted to share this post from Tim Burchett. He's a representative who we've had here a lot, Tennessee's 2nd District. He said this. This is a personal letter from President Saleh, the last president of Afghanistan. A personal letter from President Saleh, the last president of Afghanistan. February 3rd, 2025, 10:17 a.m. He says, I guess he's writing this to Tim, I guess, or it's just a note. He writes, after President Trump assumed office, an unknown entity within the U.S. authorized the transfer of $80 million in cash to the Taliban. They are auctioning this money to stabilize the Afghani right now from President Saleh, right? And this is why Trump did all of this, right? You're cut out of the systems. You're blocked. The websites are off. Your emails are canceled. You're done. Don't even come into the office. Because these entities were still just pilfering and ransacking the Treasury. Trump comes in, says, stop this. They're just doling out cash as fast as they can. Pretty sick behavior. Now, other money is missing, including this Ukraine money. Now, this, I believe, is way beyond the scope of USAID. But if we can't even account for $100 billion in U.S. military aid. What is going on? And that is why Trump is doing what he's doing, so that it all stops, because the grift is over. This is Zelensky admitting that they only got $75 billion of $177 billion in U.S. aid. Says, I don't know where all the money is. Did it disappear when it left America and got to Ukraine? Or did it disappear when it got to Ukraine and then was spent in Ukraine? Or both? Or did it disappear before it even left the United States? Right? Asking ourselves, where did this all happen? Here's Zelensky admitting.
Дивіться, я коли чую, і раніше чув, і сьогодні ми чуємо від Сполучених Штатів Америки, що Америка дала Україні сотні мільярдів, 177, якщо сказати більш точно. Така звучала точна цифра, яку підтримували або голосував Конгрес, тощо різні організації. Дивіться, я як президент воюючої країни вам говорю, ми отримали більше 75. Тобто 100 мільярдів з цих 177 або 200, говорять навіть деякі люди, ми ніколи не отримували. І це важливо. Бо ми говоримо про конкретні речі, бо ми отримали це не грошима, а зброєю. Ми зброю отримали на 70 з чимось мільярдів. Є навчання, тренування, є додатковий транспорт, є не тільки ціну на зброю, були гуманітарні програми, соціальні тощо. Але коли говорять, що Україна під час війни отримала 200 мільярдів на підтримку армії тощо, це неправда. Я не знаю, де всі ці гроші.
Okay, so, all right. So you might even make the argument that there's some translation problems or something happening there. Like he's saying, well, no. Like the money is not missing, right? Like the money didn't disappear. We just spent it on a bunch of other programs. Like, wow, we spent $175 million. Where did it all go? You know, like you go to the grocery store, you're like, what? How much? Where'd all that go? It's like three things here, right? Is that what he's saying? Or was the money stolen? Or was that 175 million? He's like, well, I really like people think it was 175 million for the army, but it really wasn't. It was more like 75 million for the army. And then 100 million went to maybe like we know where the money is, but it went to all of this other crap, humanitarian and this and democracy and transgenders in Ukraine and whatever, like all these other things. So we didn't actually have that amount of money dedicated to the army. He might be making that point too. But if that's the case, that seems like an inversion of proper spending. Like maybe the bulk of the money should go to the army and the military and not, I guess, shutting down religion or avoiding elections or whatever he is doing there. So very curious to see. We're happy that aid is hopefully coming to an end everywhere, and it is happening quickly. Here's what Alyssa Milioni is reporting. Global Development Reporter shared this. The number of personnel service contractors or PSCs pulled from the U.S. aid system with no warning grew by the hundreds overnight. When asked why their system was blocked, here was the response. Okay, so now you're one of these NGOs. You're operating to ship more illegal aliens into our country. You're like, oh, great, going to buy some more plane tickets, just ship them right into Arizona. Perfect. Says, my credit card's not working. Why are my funds declined? Sends an email. This is ridiculous. U.S. government, you guys suck. What's going on? Send the email. Here's a response, February 2nd. Hello. Thank you for contacting the USAID IT service desk, period. Unfortunately, your account has been disabled. Please reach out to HR for any inquiries as to why your account was disabled. You can call them at this number anytime before 4 p.m. or send an email. As we have referred you on to who to contact, we will now be resolving this ticket. Regards. Signed, awesome person, USAID Service Desk. Your account's disabled. That's why it's not working. Thanks for writing in. Have a great day. Don't reply. The only thing that would make this better is if the email was from no reply. No reply, us8.com. No reply. You're done. What am I going to do with all these illegals? I have like 1,000 illegals. I was going to put them on an airplane. They're in your house now. They're yours. So enjoy. All right. So they got canceled and they're having a rough go of this, trying to understand how this is all going to work. Here's a little bit of this guy. He also tried to get in there today. And this is another senator. He wasn't able to get in.
I was started off my career in public service at USAID. And I just have to say how proud I was to be able to serve the country, how proud I was to work for USAID, to be part of the foreign policy of this country.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, it was really tough today walking through these same doors 20-some years later, only to see it shut down to employees. Now, I got all weekend long, I was getting calls and phone calls from people that I worked with at USAID before, people that are there now, people who have been disrespected by this administration that pushes them to the side, basically calls them criminals, and tells them not to show up to work today.
Yeah.
In fact, I went inside trying to speak to the acting administrator, Gray.
Nope.
Unfortunately, was not able to meet with him, and I'm going to continue to try today to be able to meet with the acting administrator because I want to hear straight from him.
Yeah.
These are the orders that he gave.
He doesn't want to talk to you.
Mysterious people within this new administration sending out emails across the entirety of USAID telling them not to show up. I talked to this. I talked to the security guard. I talked to the security guard just in there. He said he has been given specific orders to prevent employees of USAID from entering the building today. And I just find that to be absolutely ridiculous. This is no way to govern. This is no way to treat public servants. And this is no way for us to conduct our foreign policy as a country.
Yes, it is. You're cut off. All your friends are cut off. I know you got a bunch of phone calls. What? We're not getting our money? We're not getting our... And this is the grift, right? They would then go to these people and they would make introductions and connect them and, go apply for a grant from them. And you're working to, save American democracy. Oh, yeah, that's great. Go over here, get some more money. Oh, you want to censor disinformation? No problem at all, right? And it was all grifted out. So all these senators get these phone calls. They're like, what? How can I play all my liberal employees? Their universal basic income for Democrats is now cut off, and they're going to be starving for more government money, but they're not getting it. Here is Marco Rubio, who's going to be the acting director of this entity and going to pass this off to somebody else who was just done solving Panama for us like 2 minutes ago. He's like, yeah, we're going to take Panama back. The Panamanian president came in. He's like, we're done with China. Sorry about that. We don't know what we were thinking. We were a little drunk. She looked good to us, but we made a mistake. We love you. We're really sorry about that. We're going to fully commit to you. Did that like in 2 weeks. Okay, it's already been done. 2 weeks that's done. And now he's going to be in charge of canceling this corrupt entity.
What's USAID? What's happening at USAID and how the questions are here?
Well, look, my frustration with USAID goes back to my time in Congress. It's a completely unresponsive agency. It's supposed to respond to policy directives of the State Department, and it refuses to do so. So the functions of USAID, there are a lot of functions of USAID that are going to continue, that are going to be part of American foreign policy, but it has to be aligned with American foreign policy. I said very clearly during my confirmation hearing that every dollar we spend and every program we fund, that will be aligned with the national interest of the United States. And USAID has a history of sort of ignoring that and deciding that there's somehow a global charity separate from the national interest. These are taxpayer dollars. And so I'm very troubled by these reports that they've been unwilling to cooperate with people who are asking simple questions about what does this program do, who gets the money, who are our contractors, who's funded. And that sort of level of insubordination makes it impossible to conduct the sort of mature and serious review that I think foreign aid writ large should have. We're spending taxpayer money here. These are not donor dollars. These are taxpayer dollars. And we owe the American people the assurances that every dollar we are spending abroad is being spent on something that furthers our national interest. And so far, a lot of the people that work at USAID have just simply refused to cooperate.
Are you currently in charge of USAID, or are you acting?
I'm the acting director of USAID. I've delegated that authority to someone, but I stay in touch with him. And again, our goal was to go in and align our foreign aid to the national interest. But if you go to mission after mission and embassy after embassy around the world, you will often find that in many cases, USAID is involved in programs that run counter to what we're trying to do in our national strategy with that country or with that region. That cannot continue. USAID is not an independent, non-governmental entity. It is an entity that spends taxpayer dollars, and it needs to spend it, as the statute says, in alignment with the policy directives that they get from the Secretary of State, the National Security Council, and the President. And it's been 20 or 30 years where people have tried to reform it, and it refuses to reform. It refuses to cooperate. When we were in Congress, we couldn't even get answers to basic questions about programs. That will not continue. That's not going to continue.
Amazing.
I've articulated to you my challenges with it, and they go back to my time in Congress. Okay, we would ask them questions. Who does this program fund? Who gets the money? We won't tell you. We don't need to tell you. We're apolitical. Well, American foreign policy isn't apolitical. American foreign policy is to further the interest of the United States. If someone wants to spend apolitical dollars, they should spend private dollars, go start a charity, and you can fund anyone you want. But if you're going to spend taxpayer money, then you need to spend it in furtherance of the national interest of the United States. That's exactly what I said at my confirmation hearing. And this is not my frustration. This frustration has existed now for almost a quarter century, and multiple administrations that have gone through this challenge. It's going to stop, and it's going to end.
Well done, Marco Rubio, and just cleaning house from day one. In fact, even the websites are down. The Twitter account, X account, sorry, Elon, don't ban me, is down. And there are senators who are like begging to get in the building, several of them. Let me in. All the grift is now cut off. And even Margaret Brennan over on CNN or CBS, wherever she is now getting a dose of reality from Representative Brian Mast. Here's what that sounded like.
Was purging of people throughout the State Department, other agencies, where we're freezing aid. These are all very important and necessary steps to make sure that we secure America, and we're going to support that.
I'm sorry, can I follow up on what you just said there? You want to authorize purging of State Department personnel? What does that mean exactly?
Gone.
Well, if you want to take a look at the State Department, where DEI has been a priority over, let's say, diplomacy in many accounts, I could give you hundreds of examples of where they were authorizing. Sure. Let's list them off. $500,000 to expand atheism in Nepal, $50,000 to do, a transgender opera in Colombia, $47,000 to do an LGBTQ trans comic book in Peru, $20,000 a pop to do drag shows in Ecuador. Shall I continue with more examples of where DEI was the priority?
It certainly seems like there could be a review of things. Foreign aid, as you know, is less than 1% of the entire federal budget. So we're talking small amounts of money by comparison.
We're still talking.
Okay, so you're not going to miss it then. We're just going to lop off 1%, and it's not going to be a big deal at all. Just little peanuts here and there. They don't need tranny lesbian comic books in Peru. They can write their own tranny lesbian comic books in Peru. I'm sure there's many maybe there. I don't know. But they can figure that out on their own. They don't need American taxpayers and our dollars to do it. Now, here's another interesting example of this. All this is coming to an end. Andy NGO, aka Andy No, says an Arizona attorney named Mayra De La Torre, who worked for the Mexican government in Tucson, was caught on a sting instructing illegal foreign nationals to lie to law enforcement. This training session happened at a Southside Worker Center, and this project came over from the Oversight Project. So here's the details on this, and then I'll repost this. In a partnership with Real Muckraker, we've obtained footage from a former Mexican consulate lawyer coaching illegal aliens how to lie to law enforcement and fraudulently seek asylum. The Southside Worker Center in Tucson acts as an employment and information center for illegal aliens, right? Southside Worker Center. So who's funding it? We should check USAID. Not only is the center linking illegal day laborers with businesses across Tucson, they're also training illegals how to break the law. On numerous occasions, The Mexican consulate of Tucson has hosted informational seminars there. And during one seminar that we sat on, former Mexican consulate attorney encouraged illegals to lie to law enforcement, telling illegals that in the event that they're questioned by law enforcement, to say that they're only volunteering and to seek asylum by claiming their life was in danger in the home country, right? Our investigation reveals that the Southside Worker Center is in direct violation of U.S. code. Accordingly, we've referred this over to Tom Homan and the Oversight Committee. So a lot of this stuff, I think, was being funded by American dollars. And so all of that is going to be coming to a screeching halt. So liberals, Democrats barricaded from entering their grift zone, and the winning is only going to continue. Now, on this topic, meanwhile, what we're seeing is that they're threatening people on Elon's team. Here's this story. Hunt them down is what many psychopath lefties are screaming about the people now working in the Trump administration with Elon Musk to reform the federal government and to purge the corruption and the waste. Hunt them down is what they're screaming on their leftist social media sites called Blue Sky and other sites, saying that they should go after these folks. Here's just a handful of the posts that you've seen here from Andy NGO, shouting out their names, saying these people, right? They're basically doxing them, right? Giving their names out and saying, go after them. And this person, right? Hunt them down, go after these people who are all working there. And Elon also called attention to this. Reddit Lies on X says, white people Twitter is now calling for the public elimination of the Doge software developers. So these people are mad, man. You take away their government money, their universal lefty income for themselves at our expense. They go nuts. White people Twitter, Musk's dogs, henchmen, drag them out. Okay, lots of bad stuff happening in these posts. We don't need to read them here because we're not monstrous people like they are. But they're condemning them in violent rhetoric, and they want bad things to happen to them. So Elon said, you know what? They have broken the law. They're not allowed to do this. And Ed Martin, the acting United States Attorney General, has responded to this on X. If you think that you're going to threaten official Trump administration team members, you're in for another world. Ed Martin says, Dear Elon, please see this important letter. We will not tolerate threats against Doge workers or law breaking by the disgruntled. All the best, your friend, Ed Martin. I added the your friend part in there because it sounds friendly. But here is what he said on February 3rd. Mr. Musk, Doge, United States government, sent via X. Officially. It says, Dear Elon, it was good to work with the Doge team this weekend. We must keep all our American government employees safe, and we must protect the American people's property. Anyone imperiling others violating our laws. Now, I recognize that some of the stuff and staff at Doge has been targeted publicly by mental cases. At this time, I ask that you utilize me and my staff to assist in protecting the Doge work and the Doge workers. Any threats, confrontations, or other actions in any way that impacts their work may break numerous laws. And let me assure you of this, Elon. We will pursue any and all legal action against anyone who impedes your work or threatens your people. We will not act like the previous administration who looked the other way as Antifa and BLM rioters, as well as thugs with guns, trashed our capital city. We will protect Doge and other workers no matter what. One last warning for you. Late last week, we indicted an economist who worked at the Fed for economic espionage for the communist Chinese. Elon. Please be very aware that there are those who are acting against our American people in every way. Even people who look like they are loyal American employees working at the Fed are secret spies for the Chinese. Refer to us any questionable conduct or details that you find or notice in case the CCP has been embedded with you in Doge. Please keep in touch. All the best. Sincerely, your friend, Edward R. Martin Jr., U.S. Attorney. Amazing. So now Elon has the support of the DOJ to protect his people. And here was more of the Democrats lashing out, right? Very upset. And I think all these people, we'll just play just a quick snippet so we have an understanding of what they were saying. Ilhan and the others, I think want, this is going to be a political future for them. So they have to die on this one.
Do you want the executive making the only decisions in this country, or do you want the elected representatives that you sent to Washington making those policies?
We just did. Literally, we just had an election like not that long ago, and we just took office. So we're making those changes. Literally, there's an election that just happened, and we're doing that. What you said.
I am exceptionally upset about USAID. I lived in a refugee camp for 4 years as a child surviving civil war. It is the essential programs that USAID provided that kept my family and I fed and safe. It is the resources that so many people around the world rely on. And it is.
We're more interested in America and our people who need those resources. Thank you, Ilhan. All right, so here is Senator Chris Murphy. Now, on our members-only streams, we were contemplating who is going to try to elevate themselves to become the next Democrat heir apparent. I think this guy's probably in the list. Chris Murphy has been really aggressive against Trump. I think he's trying to anchor himself in this anti-Trump position because he wants to run for president.
So we will use every power that we have in our disposal in the United States Senate. My colleagues will do the same thing in the House. This is a constitutional crisis that we are in today. Let's call it what it is. The people get to decide how we defend the United States of America. The people get to decide how
they just did. We just had an election.
Their taxpayer money is spent. Elon Musk does not get to decide.
He's working with the president's administration. Everybody knew that was going to happen. It was part of the election. No one's doing a bait and switch. So you can see how upset they are. Why is that? All their money's going away. Hakeem Jeffries came out, and he came out with this strategy, this plan. He actually wrote bullet points this time. Usually he just comes out and does his Timu Obama thing. He's just like, we're going to work hard and then harder. And then we'll work some more. Okay, what are you talking about? Here are his many points. First, I've made clear any efforts to steal taxpayer money or end Medicare or any of those things are going to be choked off in a funding bill. We're not stealing anything. We're returning the taxpayer dollars back to America. Second, legislation will be introduced to prevent unlawful access to the payment system. Okay, no one cares. You don't have enough votes to pass it in either house. Thanks. Third, in partnership with the Democratic Policy and Comms Committee, we will highlight Republican policies that raise the cost of living. Okay, marketing and branding, great. Fourth, Judiciary and Oversight Committee Democrats will detail for the caucus plans to end birthright citizenship, which is not even lawful as it currently stands. There are currently more than 20 different lawsuits. Okay, so filing suits. They're going to have caucus meetings. Aguilar is going to continue to convene working groups. Okay, so they're going to have committee meetings. Appropriations Committee is going to do some work. Nothing. All right, they're all just going to conduct wide outreach, connect with people, and tell them we want our money. Man, you've not seen Democrats this freaked in a while. They got like a 9-point plan. We never see any plans from them. They just come out and lecture everybody about insurrection. So they're going to they've got a bunch of stuff. Most of it is just sitting around in committees talking amongst themselves because they're basically only capable of doing that. And they're also going to be hitting the media. So we're going to have more of this from Jasmine Crockett. Just amazing.
Not our democracy. Well, he did say he'd be a dictator on day one. Oh, Democrats, it's just Trump. He just talks. Well, let me tell you something. He is doing more than talking. We talked about Project 2025. We talked about the consolidation of power. We talked about how he wanted to be a king. We talked about in a democratic republic, that is not what it is. We have some sort of checks and balances, and he is doing everything that he can to get rid of those checks and balances. The DOJ and the people that he's going after were simply doing their jobs.
No, they weren't.
The problem is that Americans thought that it was okay to take a full-fledged criminal and make him the president of the United States. And then they want to act aghast when he does criminal things. Let me tell you, we have a thug in charge of the United States. And if we don't wake up, we may not have a United States, because right now he has only been successful in being a divider in chief.
Wow. Okay. So didn't say much there other than the same thing they've been saying for years now, really, that he's a criminal. The American people elected a criminal, which is pretty insulting to the American people. As though we got duped, and I guess we're criminal co-conspirators. So we're also co-conspirators in this massive restructuring of the government. Now, we saw Caroline Leavitt earlier. This was also interesting. So in addition to USAID, some of these other major entities that have been just sucking off the government teat for decades and being propaganda machines for a long time are NPR and PBS. And I think NPR and PBS were supposed to be kind of like a C-SPAN, right? C-SPAN, I really appreciate, actually. We play a lot of it here. It's nice. It's access. We like transparency in our government. So if we're going to spend government money for media, there is a format that kind of works, right? C-SPAN kind of works for it. It's pretty good. But what about when you've got PBS and NPR and they are specifically propagandizing the news? What do you do about them? Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to be leading the Doge subcommittee, and she's calling on NPR and PBS to come and testify at a public hearing about their bias and their propaganda at their news and radio stations. And she sent them both letters, and here's what they look like. Coming from Marjorie Taylor Greene from the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, signed there by Marjorie herself, chairwoman from the Subcommittee on Delivering on Government Efficiency, says, all right, NPR CEO Catherine, the Subcommittee on Delivering on Doge is planning a hearing on federally funded radio and TV, including its systematically biased content. Now, the subcommittee is concerned with NPR and your blatant ideological and partisan coverage. The subcommittee is trying to understand how this works, and so we're ready to have you come testify March 3rd or the week of March 24th. Here's why. In October 2020, NPR declined to report on the Hunter Biden laptop story, saying, well, this is what NPR said, we don't waste our time on stories that are not really stories, and we don't want to waste the listeners and the readers' times on stories that are just pure distractions, because they wanted Biden to win. When you were the CEO of Wikipedia, you said during a TED Talk that, quote, our reverence for the truth might be a distraction that is getting in the way of finding common ground. So you'll just lie now? Further in April, you seemed to dismiss criticism, calling for NPR to make its reporting more fair and more balanced. Your statement came after a longtime NPR senior business editor, Mr. Uri Berliner, criticized its reporting, saying there's an unspoken consensus about the stories we should pursue and how they should be framed, right? It's frictionless. One story and after another about instances of racism, transphobia, climate apocalypse, Israel doing something bad, the dire threat of Republicans. It's almost like an assembly line, okay? We're just like dumb little robots at NPR, just like throwing darts at a board. It's like Trump, racism, phobia. Just, throw the darts, whatever it comes up, you just generate the title. Now, as an organization that receives federal funds, both directly and indirectly through its member stations, you should report for the entire public, not just lunatic lefties. So this hearing is an opportunity for you to come and explain to the American people why federal money should be used for public radio, particularly the garbage that you produce at NPR. Sincerely, your friend, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Come say hello. Now, PBS also got a copy of one, and they're asking about another statement that he made. Here's what this one sounded like, saying the subcommittee on delivering on Doge is planning a hearing, and you're free to come and join us. Now, recently, PBS News implied that Mr. Elon Musk made a fascist Nazi salute while addressing an inaugural celebration after Trump was sworn into office. That was clearly false. According to the ADL, a group that focuses on combating anti-Semitism, even the ADL said this. It seems that Elon Musk made an awkward gesture in the moment of enthusiasm. It was not a Nazi salute. But again, we appreciate that people are on edge, said the ADL. It's like, good, you should be very cautious in case someone does Hitler salute. In this moment, all sides should give one another a bit of grace, perhaps even the benefit of the doubt, and take a breath, because everyone's going to kill each other over the Nazi salute. All right. So this sort of bias betrays the principles of objective reporting and undermines public trust. And you get federal money, so you should support the entire public. Now, this hearing is an opportunity for you to explain to Congress why you're doing what you're doing, and we look forward to seeing you very soon. Marjorie Taylor Greene from the Doge Committee. To PBS and NPR, USAID is also getting their spending cut, and senators are being thrown out of the building for good reason. But while all this is happening, Trump is signing executive orders to bring America our very own sovereign wealth fund.
Next, this is an executive order. This charges your Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, and your Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, to begin a process that will hopefully result in the creation of an American sovereign wealth fund.
It's a very exciting event. We're going to have a sovereign wealth fund, which we've never had. We have a lot of things that create wealth, and you're seeing that over the last 2 weeks. I think we've created more wealth. Other people have created de-wealth, the people, my predecessors. We're creating a lot of wealth. Scott, maybe you'd like to say something about it, and I'd ask also Howard to say something about it.
Yes, sir, this is very exciting. We're going to stand this thing up within the next 12 months. We're going to monetize the asset side of the U.S. balance sheet for the American people. We're going to put the assets to work, and I think it's going to be very exciting. We're going to study best practices as done around the world. It'll be a combination of liquid assets, assets that we have in this country as we work to bring them out for the American people.
The extraordinary size and scale of the U.S. government and the business it does with companies should create value for American citizens. If we are going to buy 2 billion COVID vaccines, maybe we should have some warrants and some equity in these companies and have that grow for the help of the American people. So I bring all these things together, I think Scott and I will create an amazing sovereign wealth fund for you, sir.
So other countries have sovereign wealth funds, and they're much smaller countries, and they're not the United States. We have tremendous potential in this country, tremendous. You're seeing that, what's happened just in a short period of time. And as an example, TikTok, we're going to be doing something perhaps with TikTok, and perhaps not. If we make the right deal, we'll do it, otherwise we won't. But I have the right to do that, and we might put that in the sovereign wealth fund, whatever we make, or if we do a partnership with very wealthy people, a lot of options, but we could put that as an example in the fund, and we have a lot of other things that we could put in the fund. And I think in a short period of time, we'd have one of the biggest funds, and you know, some of them are pretty large, I must tell you. Some of like the Saudi Arabia fund is on the large side, but eventually we'll catch it. But we're going to create a lot of wealth for the fund, and I think it's about time that this country had a sovereign wealth fund, and these two gentlemen and some others are going to work with them very closely, and they'll be heading it up, and they're going to do a great job. Two highly respected people that have done unbelievably well in the world, in the real world. So that's a big deal, huh?
Sign it, baby.
So I think it's going to create value and be of great strategic importance.
Mr.
Mr. President, why is it important for...
That beautiful sound of that presidential pen bringing more wealth to America. And so a sovereign wealth fund is an interesting idea. Of course, we've got a lot of debt to dig ourselves out of, but there should be a benefit of being an American citizen. And I don't know why that's so controversial. We should have the benefit of free speech, due process, equal protection of the law, safe streets, functional schools, nice, healthy, clean food, and more. If we're all contributing to something and the country as a unit produces more than it consumes, then maybe we shouldn't be paying taxes. How amazing would that be if your government was actually so competent and effective that all of our work product was so beneficial to the world that we actually got a dividend? Our government paid us for being so useful and working so hard and selling so many goods and services that they get to tax. They get a cut of everything, right? What if they could put that money to good use and then pay us back, or pay for our seniors, or pay for our veterans without ever having to worry about it, right? It's just in the budget because we're so competent and capable. That would be nice. We want, at minimum, our free speech and our Bill of Rights. The rest of this is gravy. All right, and so, my friends, it has been a beautiful stream. If you're just joining us, we covered some fun stuff today. FBI packing their bags, agents already starting to pack up their desks, which, it's going to be interesting for them to keep with them since they cannot take that into their jail cells. We've also got USAID, and we were talking about how they got blocked. All the Democrats went in there like, we're going to come in there and we're going to talk to the manager. That's really what it was. The Democrats went to USAID today and they said, let me speak to your manager. The entire Democratic Party. Embarrassing. Bunch of Karens. They went, they got kicked out, and then many of them are now threatening the Doge personnel, and the DOJ not taking kindly to those threats. We also saw NPR and PBS are getting letters and opportunities to come and explain why their grift should be allowed. Trump is starting a sovereign wealth fund and more. And so now, my friends, it's time to hear from you. And we'll see what you have to say about all of this. I see some great super chats and donos. Thank you so much for sending those in. And thanks for becoming membos. We do very nice members only streams in the morning. We had a great members stream this morning. You can join up by going to watchingthewatchers.locals.com or by clicking the join button on YouTube. And we'll see you back here tomorrow morning for the members only stream as well. But we're not done yet. We had some great comments that came in, and let's see what some of these look like. Hey, here's one. It's Garfield, case of the Mondays. It's Garfield. What's up, Garfield? I used to love Garfield. Christine C. Mason is in the house. Thank you for becoming a supporter, Christine. We'll see you tomorrow on the members only morning stream. Former LEO is saying POTUS Trump is playing 3D chess, and the left-wing crazies are trying to figure out what checkers and what is a woman. Yeah. And they were doing like line dancing over the weekend when they were voting for their people and stuff. They're having a tough time. I don't have a lot of empathy for them, but they're figuring it out. B.H. Williams said, honestly, what did the FBI employees think was going to happen when Trump won? How much of this is drama llama for the cameras? I don't think they thought Trump was going to win. And after he did win, I don't think they thought he was going to do all of this. I got to tell you, man, Trump really played his hand well. Trump didn't really hint that any of this stuff was going to happen. And I got to say, we were even a little bit like critical. Remember Trump came out and he's like, we're going to build the FBI a big new building. And I almost like had a conniption fit. I almost threw myself out the window. He's like, it's going to be a big, he posted that truth, big, beautiful building. We're not sending them to Alabama or anything. I almost like puked my guts out. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy doesn't get it at all. Turns out he got it. He got it big time. I just bought it, I'm like, oh no. And he comes in and fires everybody. I had nothing to worry about. Everybody got fired. No, they're going to keep the same building, but nobody's going to be in it. Okay, so relax, Rob. Hilarious. Much ado about nothing, right? Much ado about nothing. So, in other words, from their perspective, I don't think that they were able to put that together. Like, he's not going to do anything. I guarantee you they're all sitting around. He's not going to do anything. We're going to be fine. It's okay. We're the FBI, right? Presidents come and go. In fact, they may have killed the last president who had problems with the FBI, JFK, when he had problems with Hoover and the CIA. So they think that they're bigger than the institution of the presidency. Why? Because they have been for years. Hoover was director for like 48 years. You think he gave a crap who the president was? No, because he had the entire Senate on lockdown. That's how the FBI and the DOJ thought of themselves. And they have a record of an experience of that from the first time Trump came in, and he didn't do anything. But he didn't know, right? He wasn't cognizant of it. Now he is. It's a beautiful sight to see. Hey, thanks for this. Okay, so Rick Donner just shared, Trump just dropped a truth, and I thought I may have pulled the full clip of that up. Yeah. Says, from Trump, Canada has agreed to ensure we have a secure northern border and to finally end the deadly scourge of drugs like fentanyl that have been pouring into our country, killing hundreds of thousands of Americans while destroying their families and communities all across our country. Trump says, Canada will implement their $1.3 billion border plan, and as per Prime Minister Trudeau, will be, quote, reinforcing the border with new choppers, technology, and personnel, enhance coordination with our American partners, and increase resources to stop the flow of fentanyl. Nearly 10,000 frontline personnel are and will be, and this is a nice little thing, okay? Trudeau did this too. Are and will be. Now, I want to know how many are assigned there right now, and what is the increase here? Because they're like, well, they're framing it so Trudeau doesn't want to act like, everybody's trying to save face here, okay? Trudeau doesn't want to act like Trump told him to send 10,000 people there. So he's like, well, they already are there. So we're not sending them. They're already there. And we're not doing a new border plan because we were already going to do one. So Trump didn't get us to do anything. So how many were there and how many are going to be there? What is the delta? Working on protecting the border. Now, in addition, Canada is making new commitments to appoint a fentanyl czar. We will list cartels as terrorists, ensure 24/7 eyes on the border, launch a Canada-U.S. joint strike force to combat organized crime, fentanyl, and money laundering. I have also signed the new intelligence directive on organized crime and fentanyl, and we will be backing it with $200 million. So Trump is just basically mirroring his statement. So they wrote something together and released it. As president, it is my responsibility to ensure the safety of all Americans, and I'm doing just that. I am very pleased with this initial outcome, and the tariffs announced on Saturday will be paused for a 30-day period to see whether or not a final economic deal with Canada can be structured. Fairness for all. So hopefully they get that border secured and abide. Thank you, Rick D, for this one, for sharing that, for educating us about that post. We are happy to see we're getting some movement on that. Rick D also shared this. Senator Collins on Tulsi. Hey! Good. Susan Collins says, after extensive consideration, I will support Tulsi Gabbard to be DNI. Good. John Cornyn, I think, is into. She addressed my concerns about Snowden. I look forward to working with her. Good. Keep the pressure on these senators, my friends. Tulsi Gabbard, after last week, was like down in Poly Market. And now she's probably back up. So every one of them better be confirmed. Kyle Cowden says the special agent is due to there not being actual peace officers. They were designated special agent to operate with federal LEO powers. Yeah, and they are also they're very special, also too. Thank you, Kyle Cowden. Their mama told them so. Sharpie Guy, what's up? Says, Robert, members only this morning. I brought this up and I didn't think you understood my point. Good chance, yeah, probably. The fourth Alinsky rule was alluded to my point, Rob. When the role is reversed, the left doesn't know how to respond or react. So I laughed out loud. Power is not only what you have, but what the enemy thinks you have. Never go outside the experience of your people. Whenever possible, go outside of the experience of the enemy. Make the enemy live up to its own book of rules. Ridicule is the man's most potent weapon. Yeah. ridicule and satire, right? It is very effective, which is why sometimes we indulge in it here. But thank you, Sharpie Guy, for clarifying the point, and I appreciate you educating us about Alinsky's rules for radicals. Kyle Cowden says, only constitutional peace officers are USMS, aka sheriffs. So U.S. Marshal Service and sheriffs, courtesy of Kyle Cowden. Hey, Former says, I worked for the DOD and I got RIFT, which is a reduction in force, twice. Once in the 60s and once in the 70s, even though I was a career employee. I had moved 3,000 miles to keep my job. I had 11 years in and walked away. All that is needed is self-confidence and the ability to do your job. I moved on and changed careers along with my life. Easy peasy. From Former. Yeah, look, everybody else has to deal with career changes and hirings and firings and budget changes and changing of bosses and CEOs and mergers and all this. Like, why are career civil servants immune from this? Like, they're just like special people who have no consequences of the marketplace. What? It's ridiculous. I don't care. That's fine. That happens to a lot of people. Every decade, there's an industry that goes away and a new one that comes up. So I'm not even, and by the way, right, many of these government people said that they were essential when they said that we were not. Certain people were essential. My office was deemed essential because I'm an attorney and I was practicing criminal law. We had people in custody held by the government. But I was offended that my friends who cut hair and ran gyms and did other things were attacked by our own government because they were non-essential. Like, give me a break. You guys you're just non-essential. Enjoy. Take and go. Rick D, what's up, Rick D? Says, this is hilarious. From Trump. It looks like a fun video. Looks like Trump in Muppet form. Looks like a fun one. Thank you, Rick D, for that one. Hey, Rick D is bringing in 5 membos. Thank you, Rick D. Rick! Bringing in Mr. Trump Train. Kevin Esses. We got Burrito of Souls is here. Merjam Bernard's, welcome. Mrs. B, all coming in, courtesy of Rick D in the house. Thank you, Rick, for bringing in our newest of membos. Hey, here's one from Knox. Says, happy Monday, y'all. Here is a letter 10 senators wrote as they were concerned about Doge not letting all the corruption take place when they would not let all the workers come back into their offices. So they wrote this letter. Look, dear Secretary Rubio, this was yesterday from Shaheen Shetz from Hawaii. He's with that senator who's obsessed with intercourse, Hirono. Talks about everybody's like personal relationships. Have you slept with anybody lately? Brian Schatz is like, we shut up, please stop asking people about this. We got Coons, Murphy, Merkley, Kane, Booker, Van Hollen, Duckworth, and Rosen. They all sent this to Rubio. They said, hey, Rubio, this is an independent agency, so how dare you? Foreign assistance in times of crisis, any effort to merge this entity into state must be approved by Congress. And so consistent with past precedent, we're going to continue to engage. We receive reports that members of Doge have accessed main headquarters. While some of the individuals purportedly have security clearances, it's unclear whether they access classified facilities. We understand security guards were threatened when they raised questions. As members of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, we haven't been notified. And so following this, senior management, which secures this, was placed on leave. The security people were placed on leave because they were blocking access. The potential access of classified materials may include personal information of other people. We request an immediate update about access. No, you're not getting it. Thanks. No, you're not. It's none of your business. This is the executive branch. Thanks for nothing. Right in the shredder. Just like all of the Biden letters that we sent to Biden went right in the shredder. Right in the shredder. Gone. Rick D. Trump wants a foreign leader to do something. Trump announces tariffs. Left goes hysterical, claims tariffs won't work this time. Leader caves. Trump gets exactly what he wants. This is the Trump cycle. We're going to start making our third graders draw this in class. Like, remember how we used to draw the rain cycle with the clouds and the sun with the sunglasses on it? Evaporation, condensation, evaporation, condensation. Same thing. tariffization, acquiescence. Okay, and around we go. All the kids are going to learn. Pookie's Ma says Trump's truth is blowing up. Trump's True Social. And he definitely announced that Canada thing. Thank you, Pookie's Ma. Great to see you. Knox is here. 10 Democratic senators make demands. And I think we just read that letter. Thank you for flagging that one for us, Knox. Glocky's here. Says, I'm dead. Joe Biden signs with Hollywood Talent Agency, CAA, calls him one of the most respected and influential voices in national and global affairs. He's going to do what? Hollywood Talent Agency. Are they remaking Weekend at Bernie's or something? What are they going to put him in? What's he going to star in? Spud says, Bill Kristol was a runner-up in the Rosie O'Donnell lookalike contest. Rosie O'Donnell lookalike contest. I don't understand what you're saying here because all I see are 2 pictures of Bill Kristol. What's happening? Rosie O'Donnell, look, I can only see Bill here. One old guy says, these lawmakers can't state the elements of the illegal action, nor can they state the statute that was violated. Low four-headed stuffed suits. Yeah, that's true too. One old guy says, government money laundering scheme for political donors. Dems and representatives are scared that their scheme is uncovered. They are, and all their money is going bye-bye. We've got Glocky says, the Daily Mail has a partial list of some of the projects your tax dollars funded. Oh yeah, the Peruvian trans comic books. $32,000 from Anthony Blinken. Maybe he's into them. He's like, well, when I go down there, I'm going to need something to read, you know? There's nothing in the library down there. It's very inconvenient for Anthony Blinken. He wants his trans comic books from Peru. All right. Operas in Colombia. More trans stuff. $25,000 for an opera to increase transgender representation in the arts. Oh my gosh, it's so good that we're not doing that crap anymore. Knox says, dang, so Zelensky lost all the money we gave him. What a surprise. You know, if you give a crackhead money, they're going to smoke crack. That's why they're crackheads. Can't fight it. What's up? Will Crump says, Act Blue needs to be shut down as well. Smurfing needs to be shut down cold. Yeah, and this is the concept that they've got these bots that are making like thousands of donations in very small amounts in rapid succession so that they don't have to report anything because they're all under the threshold amount. So it's basically money laundering through algorithmic fraud. Stop the China fraud hustle. What's up? Says, will CCP stocks be deregistered? You know, they scoff at U.S. courts from Stop the China fraud hustle. What's up, Joe Lyman in the house, or Limon? 3 months as a membo, 1/3 of the way to a baby. LFG in the house, Joe. Thank you for that. You're right about that. LFG indeed. Text Rick says, oh, Rob, you're making me laugh today on this USAID thing. Wah, wah, wah. Rubio is stepping up, which is very helpful, methinks. Yeah, I mean, Rubio is really rising into this position so far. And he's in what feels like total alignment with Trump. I mean, the alignment between everybody feels next level. It's been fun to watch. Thank you, Tex Rick. Hey, Super Buff is here. Says, you know, Rubio's hands look a little bit bigger now. Yeah, we like everybody a lot more now. We like Mexico a lot more now that they've got 10,000 people coming to the border. Canada too. Rubio as well. We appreciate it. Thanks for sending that dono in on Rumble as well, Super Buff. Queen Bee's Art Hive is here. Says, dang, time flies. Love you, Robin watchers. 15 months as a membo, inching closer to 2 full babies in the house. Thank you, Queen Bee, for being here. We love you back. One old guy says, Face the Nation hostess gave her psycho girlfriend eyes when she said less than 1%. It's less than 1%. Well, why are all the Democrats out there crying and trying to break into the building? Mark Butcher, what's up, Mark B? Almost 2 babies in the house. Thanks for being here. Says USAID dead. CIA slush fund is gone. Drug running it is. Oh, that's right. So they've got to find different methods of monetizing their power. So drug running is back. Yeah, I guess the CIA is going to have to recompensate for those gains. Hey, Rick D's here. Says, friends of mine who sail the world on a boat They rescued this little guy who was tossed out of a car by a guy in Mexico. Oh, man. That was a rude dude who did that. Glad they saved that little furry friend. Shout out to that little kitty. What's up, little kitty? Hey, what's going on, Just Rhonda? We got a Cash Patel emoji. Man, Cash looks like he means serious business. Just Rhonda is our purveyor of fine emojis, and she has a channel on YouTube right next door as well, so you should check that out. But she's our purveyor of fine emojis, and that is a fine emoji. Look at that, how fine of emoji that is. We have the finest of emojis, don't we? Thank you, Just Rhonda. Sheila Poo says, we wound up trillions in debt because everything to these people is just a little bit. All those little bits add up to where we are today. Treat our tax dollars like you treat your emergency savings account and don't touch it. From Sheila Poo. It's true. It's, you've seen like those things of, like there's this illustration when you're growing a business. They like there's a dot. Like this dot is just you. This is your level of complexity. It's just you, one dot on a paper. You add a partner in. Okay, it's just one-to-one, one layer of complexity. You add a third partner in. Now you've got these three relationships. Add a fourth. Now it's boom, 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 boom. Add a fifth. Now it's 6. 7. Okay, all these things. So then when you get to a certain size and scale, you're like, well, we'll just add one person and it'll make things easier for us. Actually, it really kind of doesn't in many ways because you're adding in another layer of complexity that you have to account for. Now do that times the federal government where no one cares about the money, where they just print it if they run out, and everybody can use it for whatever they want with zero accountability at all. That's why we're in the position we're in. That's why you have to kick people out, lock them out. You're done, you're fired, you're gone. Only way for us to get this fixed. Hey, what's up? V is never silent. Reminding our friends to hit the like button, only if your thumbs work. If your thumbs don't work, I would recommend you try it with your nose or your forehead. But if they do work, thanks for hitting that button. Hey, one old guy says, she lived in that camp with her husband brother. Probably talking about Ilhan. Yeah. Did she marry her brother or something? I don't know what that's about. Knox says, as someone succinctly put it, if USAID were a food program, they would need a skiff. Yeah. Yeah. And I think somebody else called it welfare for Democrats or UBI for Democrats and the deep state, essentially. Yeah. And what are they so upset about? If it's only 1%, not that big of a deal. Chubby says, was Joe's dementia contagious? Sure seems like Dollar Tree Obama has a case of it. Talking like the Dems still have any power to pass bills. Someone get a doctor to him stat. Yeah, he was. He's like, we're going to do this or we're going to do that. Like, no, you're not. And I like how they come out and they're like, the American people didn't vote for this. We're like, literally, they just did. Like, he just took office. Like, what are you talking about? Glocky, breaking news. Canada just capitulated to Trump. It's a good start. Hopefully they honor it because they got 30 days. King Ginger. A thug means truly humble under God. Yeah, I guess so. That's a good way to reframe it. Glocky shared this one. Says Trump agrees to pause the tariffs in Canada in exchange for more border enforcement. And we read both their statements. Glocky, thank you for flagging it. This old guy says, I know Trump warned us about winning too much, but I'll let you know when I'm ready to stop. Heck yeah, this old guy. I'm with you. I'm not tired of it at all. In fact, I feel very relaxed and very elated in many ways. Kind of like emotionally floating on a raft in the Bahamas with, in the Gulf of America, rather, with an umbrella drink. You know? Anybody vibing that? Hey, Colleen says, I really don't think they actually believed he would do this. He knows what he's doing this time, and he knows he's only got so much time. Congratulations, Democrats. We caught you. Thank you, Trump, Vance, and Elon, and all the other people making our government better. Shout out, Colleen. It's very nice to have that change happening. It feels good. Glocky says, Senator Susan Collins announced she's a yes on Tulsi. I don't believe it. She's actually voting to help Trump. I think there was some pushback on this. Like there was a response, and people are changing gears. Even Lindsey Graham came out and was on board. Glocky, thank you for that. Lenny is also reminding to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already and share it with a friend so they can come and join us when we party here. Dennis Petit, what's up? Says Alaska has what amounts to a sovereign wealth fund. Advice, Americans, don't let Congress put their fingers on it. from Dennis Petit. I don't know much about it, actually, about Alaska or sovereign wealth funds, but it's always made sense to me that America, you should have we should have the best platform in the world. If you're a citizen here, it should be amazing to be a citizen. Everything should be just incredible. Everything, schools, crimes, buildings, weather, water, food, all of it. Building quality products. It should be the best in the world. Everything. The fact that it isn't is a problem. One old guy's opinion says executive orders apply to the executive branch. Because the executive is the president of the USA, who has the authority on how to spend the money allocated to the executive branch by the congressional branch? This is a great question, actually, one old guy's opinions, and I think we're going to have a lot of battle over this. If you want to read into the topic, it's called impoundment, and there's a lot of case law on it, but also not a lot of case law on it, and I think it's an interesting issue that we'll probably see them come to heads on, right? The one side of this argument, and the Democratic argument will be that when Congress appropriates money, that the executive has to do that thing. And there's a series of cases that came out actually after Nixon. Nixon used the impoundment power a lot. And the Congress would say, you have to spend this money. And he would say, I'm not going to do it. And there's actually a lot of history of using the impoundment power historically. I think other presidents, it's not necessarily that they don't spend the money, but they just don't spend it in the way or manner immediately thereafter. So they'll just hold on to it, reappropriate, move it around, and then spend it later. But Congress will say they've got the power of the purse, and according to the Constitution, that once they delegate that to the president, that the president only has to faithfully execute the laws. But I would argue that it's for the general welfare of the country, right? There's a general welfare clause too. So in other words, if Congress is saying that if Congress appropriates something unconstitutionally or unlawfully, I think the president at that point has the right to impound those funds and to say, I'm not going to do that. Then based on the statute and the text of the appropriation, someone can sue and the courts can figure it out. Right? So in other words, Trump is being aggressive with this impoundment power. Congress is going to say, you have to do all of these things. He's going to say, I'm not going to do it. And they're going to, you have to. Well, that's how our country's supposed to work. There should be a back and forth between the executive and the legislature. They shouldn't be working so hand in hand together. They should hate each other in many ways. That's the check and balance. If they're too friendly, we all get screwed. So Trump is pushing back on the executive, saying, no, you can't spend money like lunatics. I'm not just going to spend it all. USAID is gone. This is all gone. They'll sue him. Then it can go to the courts, and the courts can break the tie. And they can say, well, here's what USAID legislation says. Here's what Kennedy's executive order says. So Trump, you do have to do these things or not do these things based on the Constitution and the way the statutes are written. So I'm ready to have that fight. But the Democrats, and really the Republicans too, by the way, are so used to the executive branch never doing that. And so they just say that the executive has to do whatever the Congress says. And they'll say, well, they passed other federal legislation that mandates that the president has to do those things. And I would say that legislation is unconstitutional because it's impeding on the executive branch. And there should be checks and balances, but they should also be working with each other to some degree. So that the executive should be catching the ball for the legislative branch. And if they're going to be in conflict with one another, then the courts can settle it. SD Gold Star Mom. Great to see you, SD Gold Star Mom. Thanks for sending this one in. Happy Monday, my friends. Happy Monday to you, SD Gold Star. We appreciate you being here and looking forward to seeing you back. Sean Angel. What's up, Sean? Thanks for becoming a member. We'll see you tomorrow on the members only morning stream. And if you missed this morning stream, be sure to catch that one too. Hey, GTKA Steve in the house says, wow, Rob, thanks for pulling all of this together. Thank you, GTKA. GTK Steve. It was a fun one today. There was a lot of stuff happening and the Democrats are in melting down mode. I'd rather be skiing is here. Good to see you. I'd rather be skiing. Bringing in 10 new friends. Tazzy Wazzy, what's up? Jilly's here. Mad Nana. Pete Leonard. We got Rainbow Dash. Confessions of a Cookie Addict is here. Ron Quay, Joseph Clark, Two Tragedies in Life, and B&K Firearms, all in the house, courtesy of I'd Rather Be Skiing, who is here and not skiing. Thank you, I'd Rather Be Skiing. Useful Idiot says, Donald Trump, president of North America, I think he should just declare it. You just declare we're in control of Canada and Mexico now? Well, if they don't secure the border, we might be trending that direction. We'll march all the way to the Panama Canal. Hey, just like President Polk wanted to do. Didn't he want to do that? Hey, Polly Market, look at that. Okay, so Susan Collins. Whoa. Susan Collins, her flip switched that. We were looking at this morning on the member stream, and she was, I think, at what, like 69%? So Susan Collins flip, she's up at the top. RFK, Cash. Let's get them all done, baby. Let's go. Love it. Thank you for the update on that. Thank you, Donut, for clipping that for us, too. Jack Mack is here. Says, Tulsi, confirm them all. Really shocked about what the USAID dollars have been spent on. $500K to spread atheism in Nepal? Insane. Yeah. Going to liberate the Nepalese from their faith in God. It's good effort, America. Hey, Knox is here sharing this one. This looks like it's an image of Chuck Schumer and his wife. Yeah. Says, I think she may be too hot for him. Yeah, for sure. Chuck's rough, no doubt. Hey, Cola Buds says, my job was considered essential as well. In the construction field, they said. I mow lawns. It's from Cola Buds. Okay. Who knows who was essential or who was not essential, but I was offended by the very notion. I'm like, oh, that's great. So these people can work and earn a paycheck and a living, and these people can't because you guys are like little dictators. Yeah, not happy about it. Not going to be happy about it for a while. Hey, one old guy says, the crying over these cuts in government is all about the taking away the government teat. Yeah, go suck the life out of something else, your little foreign aid projects. Good luck. Go raise private capital for your trans comic books in Guatemala. Good luck. See who wants to fund that. Boopsie, remember when Garrett was on your show? He mentioned he would be helping Trump to get control of, or at least awareness of, all of the many government agencies, not just departments. I wonder if he's helping, and that's how they busted USAID. Yeah, probably. I mean, Garrett was involved with Peter Navarro, and Navarro, I think, is very, very close proximity to people there. So I'm sure he's in the zone. The other person I think deserves a major shout out on this is Mike Benz, who has been screaming about the USAID for a long time. I've learned a lot from him on this stuff. And, you know, Garrett's an excellent researcher, so I'm sure his team is probably working on that too. So, man, we got some really, really impactful people who have been calling attention to this, and it's awesome to have this sunlight, this disinfectant happening in front of us. MT Coiner says, what's up, MT? Hey, thanks for being here for 17 months. Almost 2 full babies in the house. We're grateful for you. Says, thanks for the coverage as always. Thank you, MT Coiner. Thanks for supporting us, as always. Harley's dad says, my channel needs help. Can I marry clips of you? Maybe make clips of me? Well, I'm open to it. If you make me look good, if you make us look good here and really nice and handsome, then yeah, make some clips. Spread the news, spread the love. I've seen that format work. I'm open to it. Yeah, I'm open to it. I mean, you know, people clip us and people repost like entire episodes of this show on their channels. I'd prefer if you don't post entire shows, but like if you're clipping fun clips and you want to spread a good point or something like that, yeah, clip away. We're trying to spread and reach more people. So as long as it's in the furtherance of that and you're doing it in good faith, I don't have any problems with it. There are folks out there, but I don't copyright strike or do any of that stuff because I don't know why. But there are people that will download the entire stream and re-upload the entire stream. And we'd prefer if you didn't do that because it's kind of not the same. But Harley's dead. And hope the channel gets boosted up. Keep on keeping on, right? YouTube is a long game. It's a very long game. And making clips of me is kind of helpful for us, probably, because more people will see those, evidently, but it's not necessarily helpful for you. So while that might be a temporary solution to get you some views and some eyeballs, unless you're making a clips channel, in that case, maybe that's a different thing. But otherwise, yeah, I'd encourage you to just keep making your own content and just to keep developing it, right? It's a game of iteration. Until you've made 100 videos, like 100, and published 100, you shouldn't complain or even really think about much of anything else. You just have to get into the habit of making videos, right? Like if you tried to swing a golf club 100 times and you didn't get a hole in one, like, would you be mad at yourself? Like, no, like it's golf, right? It's very hard. YouTube is the same thing. So make 100. And when you're done with that, then maybe reevaluate after you've done that. Hey, God bless America. Why aren't we hearing from Nancy? I don't know. Maybe it's because she broke her hip, or she's just probably making too much money on the stock market. You know, I'd rather be skiing. Says Trump keeps this up, I'll be addicted to winning. I know it's good. I know. Well, it's good because it's a very healthy thing to be addicted to. Constant winning, constantly. We don't like to lose. Will Crump says Republicans need to end the USAID legislatively. EOs are too easy to reverse. JFK created it by EO. End it with legislative action. I think what we're talking about, it's like it takes a long time to build a giant building, right? Think of this like as a building of corruption. They've been building the USAID, all these relationships, all these grifts, all of it. And what Trump is doing, it's been this giant building, disgusting, corrupt, decrepit, been up for 40 years. Trump just came out with a bulldozer, right? And just the whole thing is getting knocked down. And so in order to come back and redo all of this, they're going to have to rebuild that up again. And it's much easier to take it down than it is to build it back up, I would think. So, and the format by which they're knocking it down has been epic. So it's amazing. One old guy says, don't ever insult the greatest comedy movie ever made, Weekend at Bernie's, and its sequel by comparing that Biden. He says these movies are works of comedy art. All right, likes those movies. Dan says, yes, Omar did marry her brother to allow him to come into the USA to get his college education in North Dakota under federal AID. 3 of her family members came to America while 3 went to England. No wonder she loves it. Thank you, Dan. This old guy says, someone needs to let Trump know the entire complacent or complement of border protection in Canada is 17,500 people, and that includes worldwide assignments. So Trudeau doesn't have anywhere near 10,000 people to assign to the northern border. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm wondering about. Like Trudeau's like, we'll just throw it. Trudeau's like, what'd Mexico do? 10,000. Like, oh crap, 10,000? Okay, just tell them 10,000. Like there better be 10,000 people there. I hope Trump has someone at the border counting. What's your name? All right, you're down. 1,017. What about you? 1,018. All right. You better be here tomorrow. I'm coming back. Sharpie guy. Hey, prayers up for Sweet Potato. Yes, and indeed, my friends. Thank you, Sharpie guy, for shouting out Sweet. Our friend Sweet Potato is a friend over on Locals and is currently in the hospital with an illness that's pretty serious. And so thanks for sending some prayers her way for a speedy recovery. And we expect her to return healthier than ever before. Philo T. Farnsworth, a Canadian here. Thank you, President Trump, from Philo up in Canada. Yeah, you guys got to be pretty sick of what's happening there as well. Happy it's working out. Sharpie guy says sepsis ain't no joke. No doubt. No doubt. So prayers up. What's up? Useful Idiot says, impoundment is basically veto power over the money. The president has veto power over the laws. Why can't he veto the money? Game, set, and match. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good, because Congress passes a law, the president just has to do it. That's what everybody says. Wow, this is lawlessness. No, it's a separate but co-equal branch of government. They send him the money. They send him the instructions. He reviews it. He executes it. If he says he doesn't want to do it because it's unlawful or unconstitutional or he's not legally obligated to do it, they can sue him in court and the courts can break the tie. Then when the courts come out and issue an order, yeah, then he's got to do it. But his administration can defend it, and they can use the DOJ to fight against it, and they can flex nuts of the executive branch. And I hope he does. And he is going to do it. Like, the lawsuits haven't hit yet, but they're going to. There's too much shock and awe happening for them right now to even get their bearing straight. They're all freaked out because they think they're going to get indicted, and many will, hopefully. But then there'll be lawsuits, right? All the Democrat super law firms are getting together, and they'll take a big cut off whatever they can get reimposed. But yeah, the president should flex on this. Hey, 127 Gold says, great show, Rob. How was Biden able to not build the wall after it was bought and paid for? Same rule should apply to Trump. Well, I think, again, so I don't remember the specifics of that one per se. But yeah, I mean, that's an impoundment of funds, right? Like he reappropriated those funds for other things, didn't use it. It's the power of the executive branch. Discretion in how things get done. We'll just deprioritize that. We'll deprioritize this. USAID is going over here. It's going over here. We're not going to do it. You have to. You have to. Why? We pass legislation. What does it say? They go back to the legislation. Does it say you have to do this and give all these money to all? No, it doesn't say any of that. They know that. That's why they're freaked. So the courts can say, well, you have to spend money on USAID. He says, great, I am. I'm going to. It's not going to these people. It's going to these people. So they're just panicked, right? And they're trying to conflate the issues. Like, he's acting lawlessly. He's not at all. He's executing the law with an eye towards the executive power. And this is a big problem. And we have this concept in the law called non-delegation, right? These principles where the legislature or the executive, they delegate their powers to the other branches, which is a commingling of the branches and is unconstitutional. That is your power. That is your power. You don't, because our Congress is so weak and spineless, they just delegate everything over to the executive branch. Congress doesn't say, well, we want to fund a bunch of corrupt entities and put that in writing. So they don't. They just give a boatload of money to USAID, then the executive branch does it. And both sides are playing this little stupid game, and everybody's getting rich for it on our backs. Now Trump is saying, I'm not going to do that. That's how it's supposed to work. Congress says, do this. President says, no. Courts come in and rectify it. Has not happened much in our lifetimes, mine specifically, but probably all of ours. And now it's happening, and they don't know what to do about it. Yanks is here. What's up, Yanks? Says, just read an X from Poso that Radcliffe is calling senators, asking them to vote for Tulsi, and it's carrying a lot of weight with senators. Awesome. Yeah, man, I hope we get Tulsi. And honestly, shout out to Tulsi for not bending the knee on the Snowden traitor stuff. Okay, I know that these traitors in the Senate are upset with her for not calling an honest person who exposed their traitorousness, calling them out on it. She didn't bend the knee and call him a traitor, and she's going to get confirmed anyways. So shout out to her for standing true. Kim Murray. What's up, Kim? Great to see you as a membo. We will see you tomorrow morning on the members only stream, and check out the stuff from this morning because we talked about Mexico this morning. It was fun. Leaf blower guy, essential. Leaf blower guy is essential. We don't want any leaves permeating our residence. Pinochet's helicopter tours, some of the best rides you'll ever have. Ruth Payne was a CIA handler for Marina Oswald. Ruth Payne made a trip from Martha's Vineyard just to welcome Marina to the USA and to store Lee's rifle. USAID and Ruth Payne have huge ties. Man, that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. CIA, J. Edgar Hoover, Kennedy. Thank you, Pinochet, for that one. Intellectual iconoclasm says the fat electrician did a piece on modern art being a CIA op on the Fat Files channel. USAID is strutted exactly the same way. That's interesting. Modern art. I've heard that about gangster rap and stuff like that. Like they seeded these pop culture developments in order to fill the prison population, stuff like that, right? You know, who knows how far those things go, but some things are inexplicable and they just pop up out of nowhere. Like, are they just making that a thing? Like, especially with this this gender stuff. It seems like that's just been shoved down everybody's throat. Harley's dad says, I'm going to clip your encouragement from before. Amazing, Harley's dad. Thank you for that, brother. I hope that your channel goes well. I really wish you the best on it because it is a rewarding experience to be able to spend time together with friends that you love. It's really a lot of fun and purposeful, meaningful work. So I hope you can continue on. God Bless America says, hey, Rob, can Chicago police arrest ICE News Nation? ICE News Nation is reporting they refused to arrest ICE. Yeah, I mean, that would cause a serious problem because we have federal supremacy rules under the Constitution that says that the federal government reigns supreme in conflicts with states. So if we're arresting each other, that can draw a conflict. But, you know, we've seen historical precedent on this, and in many instances, I kind of side with states as a general matter. Not in this particular issue, but like, for example, remember this popped up. Missouri passed that legislation that if the ATF came in and tried to take their guns away, that they were going to arrest the ATF agents, right? So it kind of depends on the issue. It's like, is the government being tyrannical in alignment with the law or in disalignment with the law? But as a general rule, right, the DOJ sued Missouri. They said, you can't arrest our agents. If our ATF agents come into Missouri, you're not arresting them. And I think that's legally right? If they did arrest them, we might have a real conflict there. And the DOJ charged those people for obstruction of justice with a federal investigation. So I think things could escalate from there. But I am a states' rights person in many ways, right? Especially against a corrupt federal government. But I think what the federal government is doing with ICE is the direct purview of the federal government, which is securing the border. Okay, the states cannot secure their borders. Only the federal government can, pursuant to the Constitution. So they can try to arrest ICE, but I think ICE has total lawful authority to do what they're doing. Now, contrast that with the guns case in Missouri. The feds were encroaching. On a constitutional right, which is the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms. So I think you could distinguish the two in that manner. Let's say hello to some friends on X. Hey! Hey, Garrett O'Boyle. What's up, Garrett, man? Thank you, Garrett. So we were just talking about Garrett earlier in the stream. He says, hey, man, great coverage and analysis of what's going on with the FBI right now. Thanks for hammering it. Here's another thread. Yeah! Awesome. All right, so Garrett. Man, hey, Garrett, thanks for helping with show prep, man. We appreciate you. So Garrett's helping us with show prep for tomorrow. He says, here's another thread for tomorrow. I can't wait to read it. All right, so my friends, make sure you're following Garrett O'Boyle. And here, let me just repost this one right now while we're here so you don't have to wait on that. But we're going to keep our eye on Garrett and the suspendables. And Garrett, thank you for the great reporting, man. Really good stuff. We appreciate getting inside and seeing how this stuff works. So be following Garrett O'Boyle, GOB Actual, over on X. Great to see you, Garrett. Thanks for the reporting, brother. Hey, Fred says, I saw today that Doge found 100 million in condoms for Hamas. I'm not joking about that. I don't know what the number is, but I did see that. And I think that they were inflating the condoms and attaching stuff to it and sending them across the battlefield. Like they were like condom missiles. Don't know. Mike Benz says there's so much going on, so much I need to say. There's no way to flesh it out. I need a solid 2 to 4 hour block just to break everything down. The American empire is being restructured as we speak. It must be put back together well. And so shout out to Mike Benz as well. He's also doing some great work on this. It's been great to have been following his work. What's up? Thank you to Minnie Tika for sharing us on Rumble. Rob Richmond says they were killed in a Florida shootout while making arrests on CP. It was tragic, but it had nothing to do with the J6 cases. From Greg. Thank you, Greg. Rob Richmond. Thank you, Greg. I didn't know what happened to those two. But yeah, it has nothing to do with J6. He's like, we got killed arresting a criminal. All right. That's not why you're being fired. You're being fired because you're corrupt and your J6 prosecutions have been a disaster. Hey, damn it, Janet says, go find yourself. I am in a constant state of searching and journeying to determine how I can be more at peace and at one with the universe. Thank you, damn it, Janet, for the encouragement. Hey, what's up, Rick B? Lou says, it's only Monday. We're already winning. Michael K says, she's so upset that I think she's about to have an eyelash come unglued. I wonder which one you're talking about. Rob, what's up? Says, talking about the helicopter pilot, Guernica is in the house, sharing some USAID stuff and some good follow us and other watcher friends on X, Rob Govea ESQ, and follow some other fun stuff happening there on X. All right. So my friends, we'll make sure we're not missing anything. Hey, Sergeant GPS says Chris Wright, Secretary of Energy, has been confirmed 59-38. Another one in. 200 Watt Studio says the USAID protests were all show. If they could stop it, they would have already. They know it, but they're riling the gullible public up. Yeah, they're not, and they can't do anything. I haven't even read the legislation, but go pass some legislation, go sue in the courts, go do something. They can't. That's why we talk about this, right? If you've got good facts, pound the facts. Go talk about the facts. They don't have any. You've got like USAID is amazing, does this, does this. They like the agency can't justify itself, so they can't talk about it in that way. They try to, Ilhan, well, this saved me and brought me and my family here. We're like, yeah, well, anyways, this is not something they can justify on the face of it. The law is also not on their side. They can't pound the facts. They can't pound the law. They can't say the administration has no lawful ability to do this stuff because the administration was doing, right, not Trump's administration, but the executive branch was using and exploiting this agency at their own whim for decades. So if they can do that, they've got a lot of power to not do that thing. They've got the power to operate it. They got the power to not operate it. So they can't pound the law either. So they just pound the table. They go in there, they try to break into the building, and they think that it is a travesty that their coffers are being drained. It's not a travesty. It's American justice. Jesser Bob, what's up, Jesser Bob? Says, Rob, you do need to advertise your show on your microphone. Even when people click on your show, it will still advertise for you, just in case anyone ever forgets to give you credit. Oh, I see. So when people upload the whole show to a different channel, it's like permanently watermarked with Watching the Watchers right here. I like it. Very clever. Well, we have a Watching the Watchers sign we're going to put up over here. This is a work in progress, this whole situation. It's not the most pretty thing. We're working on it. I know it's pretty ugly and janky back there, but we're going to get some lights up in here. Probably. I got to figure out the lighting. Lighting's a little rough in there. Then I also have the Watching the Watchers sign, which we had at the inauguration party that we'll post up over here. So we're working on it. It's a work in progress. I want it to be beautiful for you so that you just say, wow, this show's incredible. Look at those nice lights back there. I want it to be nice around here. So, all right, my friends, we'll see. I don't know about these things. I also like clean. I also like cleanliness on the screen. Does anybody else appreciate that? I like when it's clean. It's not a bunch of crap flying all over the place. Do this and do this. It's all, it's all over the place. But maybe I should. Maybe I should just have a million flashing light bulbs and things. Subscribe. Dan says, Omar was taken into the U.S. illegally, says Dan. As the sponsor wasn't her family or qualified. That was the reason why the family of her 6 was broken up. Half went to the USA. The real family was sent to England. Man, I don't know about any of that, Dan. But that sounds juicy and spicy. So thanks for educating us on those details. All right. We're going to make this place much better. I apologize for being such a bum. I'll work on it. I'll get better. We'll work on it. All right, my friends, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for joining us on the day. Of course, we're going to have a jamming week. We're going to have a lot of fun. Thank you for subscribing if you haven't already. Thanks for inviting a friend or family member or that guy you met in the checkout line to come and join our show. We're going to come back tomorrow. We're going to have a great stream. It's going to be a ton of fun this week as the winning just continues. We're here for it. We want to thank our amazing mods and Meme Smiths in the house. We've got Donut clipping for us. K-Bean helping out. Carrie B playing hooky. Dog Digger and Janek modding the fort down for us. We want to shout out Just Rhonda for bringing us even more fine emojis. Jigam for the memes. And Elliot, our doc master in the house, all helping out, keeping things oh so nice and beautiful and orderly around here. But that, my friends, is it for us on the day. We are going to be coming back here tomorrow to get into it again. And in order to do that properly, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Michelle said, I have no idea how the Helo pilot got that job. Who did her parents know? That is a position that's given to members reserved for combat vets as a reward. Great question, Michelle. Thanks for squeezing that final dono in there. I don't know much about that pilot. I'm sure we're going to learn more about her, though, in time. My friends, it's a beautiful day. Make it a great night. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.